What up, YouTube? I am your host, Mediocre, the total reviews and reviews. Back in here with one more video. Guys, you're looking at the title of the video and you're looking at the thumbnail. You already know what time it is. It is time to get active. Candace Owens explains the biggest problem with women today. She went and she visited the roommates on the Roommates podcast. Shout out to those brothers. And here's the thing, guys, you have to go into conversations like this with an open mind, because I think within this community, there's a lot of y'all that just don't like her for some of her political thoughts on race relations, da-da-da. But let me tell you guys one thing. On gender, when she talks about gender identity, the difference between masculine and feminine, she is spot on. So without further ado.
You know what I always say? Experiment with both and tell me what makes you feel better. And that is the truth when it comes to young women, because I dedicated my first episode to young women and really talking to them about these are the options that are being presented to you. Less. Take off more clothes, do the most to get attention, right? If you think that that's freedom, the idea that you have to wear less and the idea that you have to get naked to be heard, you really think that's a form of freedom? Because that's slavery, that's bondage.
Facts.
I didn't have to take off my clothes to be heard in society. And these women will realize that when you follow these people that are self-imposed feminists. I'm a feminist. I do this. I'm a feminist. You hear that word over and over and over again. You'll find that the majority of them are miserable. Look at their lives and ask yourself a question. Do you think they are happy? Do you feel good when you do what they do? Right?
Oh, wait, hold on. She cooking. So she helped me think through something that I've been pondering on for like a little while now. The problem, schools and shit push this idea of feminism. They push this idea. And so women are growing up underneath the guise that there's some established patriarchy that has to be overthrown, even though this currently today it doesn't exist, especially the way that it did when the first wave feminism actually made sense. So they have this idea, feminism, and within that you have all these people that push these feminism ideas of do whatever you want, right? Be free, do whatever men used to tell you not to do. Meanwhile, it's the men that are communicating to you what we want in order to be in a relationship with you. But their freedom is a term of enslavement, which makes perfect sense, because why should you feel that you have to get naked, right? In order to do whatever you want. You understand what I'm saying? But don't feel the societal pressures to be as naked as what you possibly can just because the next girl's doing it because she's getting more likes than you. The game of more and more likes is enslavement. Because you feel that pressure. Suicide rates amongst young women are the highest that they've ever been. And a lot of it has to do with this like culture, this social media bullshit culture. Let's keep it moving.
Constantly looking for a dopamine hit from social media because you took your clothes off and you want somebody in your comments, a thirst trap with your ass out, right? And you want someone in your comments going, "Oh, you slay, bae. You slayed the day, bae." Hashtag Tuesdays, am I right?
Yeah.
And you do the stuff for attention. And you're devaluing yourself, and at the end of the day, you don't actually feel good, and it's not going to bring you happiness,
it's a short-term
right?
feel
So
good.
yeah, you can get guys sliding in your DM. You can get guys telling you look good. You can get guys that want to sleep with you. How many of
and the shit is, I get so confused because I see this other hashtag where it's like girls put up some shit like, stop sending me, body pics or like eggplant pics or something like that, and then you go in their profile and it's like every other photo they're naked. And I'm just like, well, okay, I understand not wanting to have someone, and I'm not saying that dudes who do that should, they should have accountability for their actions. I don't think you should ever do that as a dude. But at the same time, are you just a bit inviting yourself within that space? You think Susie over here that wears particularly conservative clothing who's probably, if Susie looks better than you, you know what I'm saying? Like Susie could be a 9 in the face. You could be a 7 in the face. You think Susie over here who's dressing conservative is getting eggplant pics in her goddamn DMs? No, Susie's not. Susie carries herself like a lady.
Of these people actually get guys that want to stay with you, right? Are not in somebody else's DM. The same way that you found him is the same way he's going to find somebody else, because we are increasingly becoming a part of a society that's ADHD. You want to know why our grandparents stayed together? Because they weren't looking at ass cheeks all day on Instagram and refreshing it and going, oh, well, that girl looks younger, that girl looks better, that girl's face tuned, and I think that is what these young women that they're following are telling them. You've got 13-year-olds getting lip injections, right? Because they want to look like Kylie Jenner. Again, not a shot to Kylie Jenner, but what society have we created that ever made Kylie Jenner feel like she had to go out and buy those lips, that she had to contour her entire face and change her entire body? She was already a beautiful little girl. So the society is ill. It's not normal, right? Don't let these people convince you that that's normal. That's cancer, and that cancer will become contagious to you if you accept that. You don't follow better role models.
It seems to me a lot of women, when they hear conservative values, the trigger to them, and I could be wrong, the trigger to them, it seems as, bondage, go back in the kitchen, shut up and just, just be a slave to your husband. Why do you feel like there's so much of when they're hearing about some of the things that you say, like what makes you happy is making your husband a sandwich, some people like that sounds crazy, right? So why do you think there's such a disgust, such a rejection of that kind of idea of that kind of woman in regards to modern society?
Because we're being brainwashed via the education system.
Okay.
You learn feminism in school, right? You learn feminism. I had to actively learn it. And
for clarification, how do you define feminism?
I can tell you how they define it and what it actually is, right? So feminism in school, when you learn it, is you're just fighting against the patriarchy, and you're supposed to see the patriarchy everywhere. It's the same way that critical race theory and race is being taught. The idea is they're not actually teaching you anything but how to hate white people when you're learning about race in school. And when you are learning about feminism, they're not actually teaching you anything other than how to hate men and to see the patriarchy and men putting you down everywhere, right? So when you have that form of psychological conditioning taking place in the school system, you're producing women that see the patriarchy everywhere. It becomes like a paranoia, right? Oh my God, if asked me to make a sandwich, I'm not gonna make a sandwich, and then that's it, I'm trapped. And they're actually not realizing that there actually was an incentive behind you even being taught that. You've never actually lived the life of making a husband a sandwich, and they think that's going to send you back and suddenly you're going to lose your voting rights and you're not going to be able to go get work. There was a time when there was a need for feminism, first wave feminism, right? But first wave feminists would want nothing to do with third wave feminists, which is where we're at today. Right? Women that think that actually first wave feminists, you could argue, envied men, right? They wanted to be able to go to work. They wanted to have that option to be something outside of the home, right? Now we have that option, and we're being told the exact opposite, which is that everything in the home is bad. And that's what you call throwing out the baby with the bathwater. There are some really amazing things. I think the best things that come from being at home. Sometimes I think we got the bad end of the deal, right? I'm like, wait, we got to stay at home and do nothing and spend our husband's money and somebody complained?
Yeah.
That's a joke, guys.
I was about to say.
That's a joke. But no,
what's so crazy within that, she talks about from an education perspective, and I see all over Twitter, Instagram, and shit like that, like all of these women that stay within this victimhood, this victim mindset. And the shit is, men get fed this bullshit as well. So think about the psyche of a man, young boy growing up underneath this, damn, there was a patriarchy. Damn, I need to turn down this feeling of masculinity within my body because in some means that is by definition toxic. But it's pushed so much and it's incentivized, and a lot of it I think is from a product pushing perspective that they push all of these things. And also I feel like the left as well just likes to do the absolute opposite of our evolutionary biology for shock value. For shock value, just to parade some new shit, turn up the masculinity of women, turn down, the masculinity of men in favor of femininity, right? And you have like this divergence or this equaling of gender roles and identity, and a lot of it is for goddamn shock value. Goddamn shock value, to divert your eyes towards your nice, happy, well-established life, to whatever the hell Cardi B is doing over here, or whatever the hell is going up, devil blood. What's that dude's name? That crazy dude with the blood in the sneaker and the shoe, whatever. Devil's Nas X, whatever. All of this shit. And it's just confusing. It's confusing. And then I think back and I go back to there's been people in my life who were raised in full patriarchal societies, raised completely up until teenager. And then they came over to America and they're still with this feminism, third wave feminism, patriarchal bullshit. I'm just like, but you came from a staunch patriarchal society where women can't drive. How do you come over here and with confidence talk about patriarchy as if it's something that we are standing up to oppress women in 2021? It's absolutely insane. It's incredible to me that people can look at the same society and come to a completely different conclusion. It's ridiculous to me.
And to me, I think that's the part where, I've unfortunately seen that happen so much in society, that there's such a mischaracterization to me of what people think as stay-at-home mothers and traditional women. There's such a mischaracterization, like these women were prisoners,
Right.
and so whereas, like you said, I think first wave feminism wanted women to have a choice, but then third wave, the choice is gone. You must choose what we want for
Exactly.
you, right?
What we want is you need to be top 40 Forbes company, a corporation. If you don't have that, then you somehow failed. And I'm like, that is so backwards and so wrong. And it also goes against biology.
Yeah.
It goes against biology. There's a reason, biological underpinning to everything that we have in the society. People keep trying to outthink biology. It doesn't work that way, right? There's a reason, women can carry children and men can't. So that instantly allows man to have different goals in terms of the workforce than women, because that means we have to make a decision. Do we have children or continue working in our career or try to juggle both? Men don't have that same pressure, and it's not their fault. They didn't design this. Men weren't like, well, I have an idea. Let's not be able to carry children, only let women be able to do that. And so there's the biological reality of that. And increasingly you see women that go for it in terms of their career because they have the societal pressure. And then
I'm so convinced there'd be so many more happy women in life if they stop looking on social media. They gave way to these ideas that feminism has pumped into their mind and just said, what would actually make me happy? There's so many women out there that are in the workforce that are angry and bitter and want nothing more to be under the provision and the protection of a dude out into the workforce, and maybe work on occasion, work on part-time, have maybe a little online thing as they're growing and nurturing a family. And that will bring them true, utter joy, fulfillment, and happiness.
it's too late. And then they realize, wow, this job is not making me happy. But my gosh, can I just tell you as a new mom what you feel like when your son smiles at you? Like, when your baby looks up at you, there's no greater feeling of accomplishment. Like there is none. I have accomplished a lot in my life in terms of my career. And I can tell you there is nothing that satisfies me more than just my baby smiling at me. And we're taking that away from women because we're telling them that's the wrong aspirations to have in life.
Another thing that I've noticed going on in society is that there is a lot of cynicism towards men as well. And you've talked about it, as well on your show and on different platforms. And I've noticed that a lot of women, similar to like what the media does, it projects such a negative, cynical view of men in society.
Facts.
Of men are going to take advantage of you, they're going to beat you, they're going to, get you pregnant and leave you. There's such a negative view of men. So for women who may have a negative view of men because of maybe personal experience, whether their father may have not been there or because of whatever society painted to them, how would you encourage them? How would you motivate them to not be as cynical and to be more optimistic when it comes to men?
I think it's a self-perpetuating problem, meaning that there are crappy men in the world, right? But men are crappy because we've created a system where manhood has become obsolete. You keep increasingly telling men more and more they can't matter. When I say, who are they being told that by? They're, like I said, there's more sinister implications here of why we're making manhood obsolete. When we're saying masculinity is wrong, this is backwards. You don't need a man. You can just have a baby without a man. You're starting to see that sort of programming happening with young women.
And let me also comment on that real quick. She didn't touch on it, but she said we are making masculinity obsolete. I also just think that it's technology. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like someone is, there are some actors out there that are saying that masculinity is obsolete, right? Like, and are diminishing the full power of what a man can do and calling it toxic or whatever. But also just through technology, being in a first world country, the understanding of provision and protection is just not where it needed to be years ago, centuries ago, when, you looking at across a boat that's coming to your island, and then 2021, it's a cruise ship, everyone waves, but a boat coming across to your island 400, 500 years ago meant get the men because some shit about to go down. You know what I'm saying? So you wouldn't have to think about it like that anymore. So I think just as time has progressed, we've become a much more peaceful planet, right? Which much more evolved thinking and technology. It is diminishing at a macro scale the power of what masculinity can do for both sexes.
when you're telling women to act like men. You should aspire to the things that men naturally might aspire to. When you remove the more natural feeling of men being providers and women being nurturers, which is a beautiful yin and yang that just works, right? So you're creating men to feel obsolete, and then women are complaining because men aren't being men. You know, it doesn't work that way, right? And not only that, then increasingly you're telling women to be the opposite of what I think men want, right? The opposite, maybe in the instant when men are not thinking with their big heads and they're saying, oh, whoa, she's out naked, great, I'm going to go for it. That might be what a man wants, but long term, that's not what a man wants. A man doesn't want a girl that's just going to be naked all the time and put herself out there available for every man to see. You know, that I don't have to be a man to know that that's not what men want. So then you say men suck, and I ask this question all the time. You complain about men, but are you being the type of a woman that a man would want, right?
Bars. Listen, and that's the thing. That's the crux of social media and Instagram, is that it can be a fantastic marketing tool, even from like a personal perspective. But the women that are doing things on the tool in order to get the attention that they're enslaved to want, the dudes that are DMing them are not the dudes that they actually want. And if they make the ill-fated mistake to get into a relationship with a DM slider type of a dude, and then they're going to find out years later that they wasted all of this time because they don't want those type of men. It's like the weirdest thing, because the tool is there and you have access to free speech, free thought, free posting, whatever it is that you want, as long as you're a consenting adult. And then you could just get trapped. You could just get trapped, especially if you're a baddie. Especially.
It's a self-perpetuating problem. And then you say that and they, oh my God, Candace is a horrible human being. And I'm looking at you going, I'm not a dude. I wouldn't date you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so again, self-perpetuating problem, not enough women calling out the fact that women are not desirable right now, in my opinion, right? They're sexually desirable, but I wouldn't want to take you home to mom desirable. And then you have men who are, you know, being hit over the stick and being told, man, bad, masculinity, bad, who need to be told, no, stand up, you know, tuck your shirt in, right? Be a leader, be what a man is supposed to be. And that dies when we're not even allowed to say man and woman anymore. And that gets me into the transgender. And I could rant for 3 hours on that. So
no,
and that's the thing as well, is that, you know, what she said is that women today are not desirable or less desirable. I forget exactly what she said. And I actually had this question posed to me just yesterday. You know what I'm saying? I had was in a bar somewhere, and I was having a conversation with a young lady, and she was talking about relationship status. She's like, "Whoa, you're 35 and you're single, no kids? Number one, you're rare." The second thing is like, so, but why? Why haven't you? And I said, you know, the majority of women that, you know, I'm seeing now today that, you know, I engage in kind of relate, they're just not desirable. They're just not desirable. They could be desirable for a night, but in terms of thinking to a man, would this be a good partner for the rest of my life? A lot of them just aren't. And it's a goddamn shame, because it seems as though the badder that you are, the more susceptible that you are towards the social media engine, because it's a dopamine hit. You know what I'm saying? If you are on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're like a 5 and lower, you don't get the same hit as a 8, 9, or 10 on social media. Oh no, the drug is a lower dose. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not getting all of that instant validation, instant gratification. You're not getting that. And that's just the thing, is that, like, you know, how do you find that unicorn that can take a look at the engine that we're all in and say, yeah, nah, I'm good on that. You know, I don't need to put my WAP on the floor on Instagram, all of these busted challenges and like all of this shit, which is so disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and I think about that too, like being a father one day, like, let's say, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, damn, if they do the busted challenge in 2021, and if the left continues to get a hold of this equality of shit, like what the hell is the challenge going to be in the year 2041? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it going to be then? I really think, like, maybe 120 years from now, historians are going to look back on this whole shit and just be like, what were they doing? Just like some of our history, we look back on the Greeks, right? Like, or like the Romans, and we like, but why though? but why? You couldn't think of nothing else better? Yeah, right? It wasn't a better idea for you to think of how that particular component of your culture was. Guys, listen, I'm gonna pause the video right here. This video is from a much longer live stream on the Roommates podcast. I'll leave a link to that down in the description box down below so you guys can go up and support that platform. But I think that it was important to give my ideas regarding the couple of things that Candace and the roommates were saying. Shout out to the podcast. Shout out to the platform. Shout out to Candace Owens. Appreciate her thoughts in this space about this information. Questions, comments, concerns? Y'all already know what to do. Mediocre tutorials and reviews at gmail.com. Feel free to hit me up. Got an Instagram as well. Guys, keep on sending me this dope, fantastic content. Would wholeheartedly appreciate that. Last but not least, I got a Patreon. Link down in the description box down below. Fantastic benefits over there. 600 strong. All right? Until next time, you two. Peace!